Awesome, man. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah,
How
no
are you doing?
problem. I'm doing great. Just got up not too long ago, did a little quick workout, got some coffee going. So, it's gonna start off a great morning. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. So it's actually 9 p.m. here in the Philippines. So I've had a long, productive day. So I'm good. This is probably the last thing I'm gonna do before I sleep.
I understand. I appreciate you giving me the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the People's Choice Podcast. This is episode 11. My interview. I know you guys probably used to, or I won't say used to, but see my other series. So now I'm back doing my interview today. So, John, want to give yourself a brief introduction to all my peeps out there?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Alvin. Appreciate it. So Alvin and I met on one of the groups for podcasting. So I'm John. I'm from the Philippines. I'm actually an operations director for a BPO company. It's called TDCX, but I also have a podcast of my own. In that podcast, I actually interview people who are on the journey for a better life, like entrepreneurs, real estate agents, and we don't really cover the specifics of what they do, but more on how they got started on that journey, right? Like I know a lot of people, especially here in the Philippines, who want to become businessmen, who want to start a business or do something different from what they're doing, and they just can't start for whatever reason, like mental, emotional, societal, and so we cover that with some of the guests that I have on the show, and they share their experiences, and a lot of it, if not all of it, is really very inspiring. And that's who I am. And my goal, at least for this year, is by the end of this year, I myself am already an entrepreneur. Hopefully, so fingers crossed.
Hey, man, it's gonna happen. You're already starting already with just your podcast. We got to all start somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually been I've been at it for a long time already. Like I've been reading all these books, listening to all these podcasts, researching, watching YouTube videos. So I've kind of been on the journey for a while now. It's just that I haven't really started yet, and that's when the idea for the podcast hit me. And so as far as knowledge and theory and all that stuff is concerned, I feel like I'm ready. It's just doing it, getting started.
Awesome. So what's the
That's always the
Philippines
hardest part,
like?
right?
Yeah, I'll tell
You've
you.
never been? You've never been in the
No,
Philippines?
no, I have some friends that are from there, but I always wanted to go. So, what is it like over there? Because I'm all the way in North Carolina right now in the U.S.
That's a beautiful place, man. I was there. When was I there? I think it was in 2018. Amazing, very very nice place. Yeah, so the Philippines. I think the biggest difference you'll see is that we only have 2 seasons. We don't have, and some places in the U.S. don't have 4 seasons either. But a lot
Mhm.
of people, if not most people in the Philippines, have never seen snow. So we only have the rainy season and summer. And so the Philippines is an archipelago. We have around 7,000 plus islands, right? And so there's a lot of really nice beaches here that can probably hold up their own against like the beautiful beaches over there in the U.S., like Hawaii or like Florida or California, even.
Mhm.
It's nice here, man. Like the people are really, really nice. There aren't a lot of issues when it comes to the friendliness, the character of people. It's a little tough to be here if you were born here and you were born here below the poverty line, just because not a lot of opportunities to really make something out of yourself. Unlike in the U.S., where if you apply yourself, I feel like there's a lot more chances, right? I don't know. It's hard to tell, but yeah, it's a really nice country. I'm very proud of it, but it has, just like any other country, a lot of issues that I don't know when or if they'll be fixed in the near future. I don't know. Is there anything you want to know about the Philippines? Like maybe you can ask me some questions about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say for like all I'll call my audience my peeps because my name out people. So for any of my peeps that's out there, because actually I had one of my friends out there in the Philippines, and I always say, man, I can't wait to visit. So for me and my future peeps, were some good like tourist attraction spots to go, or some places that you're like, oh man, if you come to Philippines, you have to go here.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. I mean, for top of mind would probably be Boracay and Palawan. These are the really top of the line beaches that we have here. I think in some lists they top the best beaches in the world, so definitely recommend that. There's a lot of nice places to go to as well for like to experience the local flavor, cuisine wise. We have some like Anthony Bourdain was here a few years ago, and he really loved our pork lechon. It's really pretty good. I would recommend it for sure.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to try to check it out. I always love to travel. I haven't been to Philippines yet. Hopefully one day soon. So you said you started
Which
podcasting.
countries in?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask which countries in Asia have you been in? Have you been to Asia?
I haven't. No, I've only been because I was born in Connecticut, and I've been to basically just places in the U.S. But I've always wanted to travel. I always wanted to go like out of the country, and that's actually one of my goals. But it was actually my goal for last year. But COVID-19 really
Pandemic,
affected, a lot of that. So hopefully, once the pandemic is officially over, I'll start traveling. I would love to go to Asia, Germany, all types of places.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome, man.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you, so when you say you've been basically doing your podcast for a while, like researching it and stuff. Is there a specific type of like guest that you really want to have on your show one day, or is it just you want to get like a lot of people's story out there? Cause I heard you say it's more like inspirational, right?
Yeah. No one specific in particular. I only just started like maybe around the last 2 weeks of December. I haven't. So what's out there, like out in public, is just the second episode. Actually, it came out earlier today. But what I wanted to do was to have 10 episodes in the bank, like so to speak, right before I launched it. And so I had 9, and then I launched it 2 weeks ago, and then the second one came out. But to your question, there's nothing really, no one in particular. In fact, most of the guests that I have are fairly eclectic, right? Like they come from different backgrounds, different different industries even. So I have a few people that are in the BPO industry just like me. One of them was Marge Visa. She was the guest for episode number 2, which came out today. She was a virtual assistant, and then before she was a virtual assistant, she was actually a single mom, right? Like she got pregnant in her 20s, in her when she was 20 actually she got pregnant, and then her because we're a Catholic country, we're very deep into these values. Ironically, they kind of abandoned her, like her parents abandoned her when she got pregnant, just because they felt like she wasn't, I guess, displaying the Catholic values that they wanted to see from their kid. And so she had to fend for herself. Eventually, the person who got her pregnant left her, and so she was carrying, like, she was telling a story about she had to ride a bus and she was like 4 or 5 months pregnant, carrying 5 kilos of rice, and just to get home. And so she had to go through a lot, and she was a virtual assistant, and then she did a really good job at that, so much that her clients actually trusted her enough to increase her team, and then eventually they decided that they wanted to have her start her own company. Like they put pressure on her to do that. And like last year, she has a relatively big company now. Last year, they actually raked in 100 million pesos in revenue. Wow. Which, considering it's a pandemic, that's pretty impressive, right?
Yes, definitely.
And then right, yeah. So I was really blessed to have been able to get a chance to talk to her on my podcast. And then I have some guys too, where like the last one I interviewed 2 days ago. Her name was Yuma. She's a 24-year-old fresh grad that's already a CEO of her company. So she was the youngest one I interviewed. Right. Yeah. It's just so impressive and so inspiring at the same time. And her company is all about her sister. I'm not sure if it's her younger sister or older sister, but her sister is autistic, and so they have trouble communicating with her. Like if she wants something, she usually doesn't know how to communicate it just because she's autistic, and she would be throwing tantrums, right? Like she'd get very upset. So she created she combined AI and technology so that it became she was able to create an app. So the company is about an app that people like her sister can use to communicate using pictures, right? Like she would pick the pictures, and then the app would translate what she was trying to say into a sentence. So then you would be able to have almost like a normal conversation with someone who's autistic or someone who is having trouble with verbal communication. And to do all of that at 24, right?
Yeah, man.
Impressive.
I'll say I'm 25 right now, and I haven't done nowhere near any of that. It got me wondering, like, man, what am I doing with my life now? Now everyone's journey is different.
Yeah, and that's the point, man. Age isn't really it's just a number. They always say that, but it's true, right? Like just my conversation with you proves that. I mean, she would be the first to tell you that it's tough being that young and having so much responsibility. But at the same time, I don't even know what I was doing when I was 24. I mean, you're doing better than me for sure. Like I was probably out getting drunk and getting wasted all the time when I was 24. So
Well, it's nothing.
I mean, it's different.
You gotta enjoy life a little bit, you know. So
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about you, so for the audience to get to know you as you continue to expand, your audience. So, growing up, was you into like any sports or any clubs or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, a funny thing. Not all Filipinos talk like this. English is actually my first language.
Awesome.
But most Filipinos do speak English, and that's why a lot of the BPOs or outsourcing call centers are in the Philippines. So it's something that we were able to kind of develop as a country. But I actually grew up in an Air Force base in my hometown in Angeles City in Pampanga. So it's called Clark Air Base. And so until I was about 4 or 5 years old, all my friends were like Americans, like kids from military families, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they left, when the U.S. Army left, had to go to school. I couldn't speak any Tagalog, which is the native language that we have here. And I don't actually remember, but it was pretty tough having to learn my own language in that way. If you can imagine. Yeah, so I grew up in an Air Force base, and then when you guys left, when the United States left, I grew up in Angeles City. And actually, the school that I grew up in was still based on American curriculum, right? Like, I don't know if you've heard of ECE.
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So they give you paces, right? Like it's not a normal classroom where you just have to sit in the classroom and just listen to the teacher. You have your own cubicle, right?
Yep.
And almost like an office, and then you have these spaces that it's very self-paced, so you can learn at your own pace. If you're a fast learner, then you probably get through these spaces really quickly. And so I did that. It was probably the best thing for me, given that I was actually a pretty smart kid. And then so I actually skipped first year of high school. I went straight to second year, coming from grade school.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel awesome at that time because I was
Oh,
leaving all my friends behind. I had to join a class of kids that were older than me, and I had to make new friends. But it was fine. It turned out well. It turned out okay because now I had two sets of friends, right?
mhm.
And yeah, and then both my parents are pastors. So
Awesome.
we're as a family we're born again Christian, and
Amen.
what's
Amen.
unfortunate about that is when I finished high school, we didn't really have the funds or like money saved up for college, and so I was able to get through the first 2 years or 2.5 years of college. I took up computer engineering, but then I had to stop because we ran out of funds. I couldn't support myself anymore, and that's when I started working. And I've been working in the BPO industry ever since. So that was when that was in 2005, and I was 18 back then. And then from there, I was an agent, right? Like I was taking calls I was selling DirecTV
Oh,
satellite, like
wow.
yeah, I was pretty good at that. And then I became a supervisor. So whenever someone would need a change in their flights, that was a client that I had, Orbitz. So and then later on, I became a manager for Hilton.
Oh,
So
wow.
Hilton was in Manila. They had a call center here, and I was part of the management team of that. It was fun. I got to go. That was the first time I got to go to the U.S. because of the Hilton client that we had.
Hmm.
I went to Dallas the first time, and so that's why the Dallas Mavericks are my favorite team.
Hey,
I
shout out
love
to the
basketball, by the
Mavericks.
way. Yeah, shout out
Awesome.
to the Mavs.
Yep. You
Yeah,
out you like
Luka
Luca,
Doncic.
I'm say Luca, yeah.
Yeah, they locked into that. No, they could have got a Trey Young, but they got Luka. That was pretty savvy maneuvering on their part. That's pretty good.
Definitely.
And then they got Luka, and then they got Chris Stapps for virtually
Mm.
nothing, right?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, so I went to Dallas. I watched my first NBA game. I remember very clearly. I watched. It was still the Miami Heat, the Heatles, with LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh in the same team. Like
wow.
it was a blowout. Like third quarter, even before the third quarter ended, it was already like 40, 30 points up, and
Oh,
which was good, kind of, because I got a chance to move to like a more ringside type of seat. I got to get I upgraded my seat in that game basically. Yeah, and then and then so I'm married. I have a kid who is 4 years old who looks exactly like me. So that's pretty cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Man, that's amazing. You've done a lot so far. You're really just getting started even more because one thing I learned about the podcast world is that you never know how many doors are going to be open from just different interactions and different people and audience and stuff like that. So, did you say you was an operator or you're an operator right now for your company or company? What was it called again?
Yeah. So in the BPO world, the like the heart of the BPO world is in operations, right? Like if you're an agent starting out, that means you're part of operations, like when you're taking calls, right? And
Hmm.
usually the career path is if you're a good agent and you display like some leadership skills and some leadership potential, then you become a team leader. And but you're still in operations. And so I just followed that path from an agent in operations, a team leader, a manager, a senior manager. Today I'm an operations director. So um, yeah, so under like the next level below me, like the people that I manage directly are senior managers, and then these guys they manage managers who in turn manage team leaders, and the team leaders are the ones that interact directly with the agents.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
that's pretty cool because that's actually kind of similar to my job because I'm actually a team lead at my job over at Moen. I don't know if you heard of them. They're a really big company. They deal with faucets and kitchen appliance, bathroom appliance, all types of stuff. And I'm actually a team lead myself, so I think that's pretty cool. It's like, oh wow, look at that.
That's cool, man. Such a young age too. Like, how long have you
I've
been a team lead?
really, I'm only a year and a half, so it's a big opportunity for me. I thank God every day because just shout out to my boss. He believed in me, when he had other options out there that he could have took, and he believed in me and saw something in me, and I just been thriving ever since. I hope I don't let him down and continue to shine through. And
That's awesome, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And that's just a little bit
Yeah.
about me, because as far as my peeps know, I don't think I really ever talked about my job too much. But yeah.
What's your boss's name? You should get that on record.
Oh, Kevin. I gave him a shout out in my
Kevin?
last video. So Kevin, and he might watch it because I think he subscribes to my YouTube channel. So shout out to you again, Kevin. Thank you for everything.
Awesome.
Love you, man.
Good job in hiring Alvin, Kevin.
Definitely. So one thing I love about like my show, what I love to do is also talk about like motivation and quotes. So me and you are very similar. So like, what's a quote or something inspirational that you lean on when either the times are tough or just so uncertain, or even if things are good, but that's what you lean on?
Man, there's just so many quotes, right? Like in for every situation too. Like I'll show you. Like I have this book. It's my journal. I have like quotes for everything. I have a vision board, like everything I want.
That is
like,
amazing. I gotta do one. That's pretty cool.
I highly recommend it, right? Because so there's a few quotes, right, in relation to that. Like I listen to podcasts a lot too. So one of the podcasts that I listen to is Lewis House. The name of the show is School of Greatness, and he had on a guest named Andrew Huberman, who's a neuroscientist. And one thing that he said that really stuck to me was that you have to have a vision of the future that you can always go back to, right? Like, so if things get tough, then you always go back to that vision. It keeps you motivated because regardless of what's happening in the present, if you keep that vision of the future that you want to happen in your mind and in front of your mind, like these things that are happening at the present moment are kind of like they almost seem trivial. You know what I mean? Like it's almost trivial because the vision of the future should be more powerful from an emotional standpoint than what you're going through in the present, right? And then something related to that, I don't know if you know Jesse Itzler. He's one of the owners of the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh wow.
Yeah, his main business. He has a lot of businesses, and but he's pretty cool. He has a book where what's that book about? The book is about like he had an army or a Navy SEAL stay with him for 30 days, and they did all this really tough stuff together. Anyway, you should look him up. He's a really cool guy. And he has a really cool attitude about life and everything. Really, he's very inspirational. But one thing that he said that always stuck with me, or is still sticking with me, is always like, and it's very simple. Remember tomorrow, right? Like if you're gonna do something today that you know it's not gonna be really good, like you're gonna get drunk tonight, right? Like before you do, remember tomorrow, right? It's gonna be fun right now. But how are you going to feel about it tomorrow, right? If you're thinking about blowing off work, not coming in for work to do something else, remember tomorrow. Like before you do it, remember tomorrow. And it's going to be fun right now, but how are you going to feel about it tomorrow? And all these things, right? Like always remember tomorrow. And so then even if situation in the present is hard, and you couple that with your vision of the future, then it makes things bearable, right? Like you can live in the future because everything that you're going to do in the present is going to make that future happen. So, yeah, I don't know. Is that escapism? I don't know. It's probably not. I don't know. If that makes sense. Yeah.
That's awesome, and I really hope that some of my audience will definitely gravitate towards that. Remember tomorrow. That's gonna stick with me. It's really good. So, speaking more over there in the Philippines, because COVID-19 has really affected a lot. The whole world, and it still is to this day. Has it affected you guys dramatically, or like your life dramatically? Because it has with mine, but it was one of the driving forces for me to even start my podcast, just in case something would happen, like at my job or anything like that. And I always wanted to do it, and I've been putting it on the back burner, and I'm just like, I'll do it. Then when the world almost, once they come to an end, but the world was shaken, I was like, okay, I have to do this now or never. So how was the pandemic over there? How do you guys basically deal with it?
Yeah. So we were some of the more fortunate ones, right? Like my family and almost everyone I know were fairly fortunate, right? Like for myself, especially, I got, because of the company that I'm in, we actually started working from home, and very few people in our company got laid off. So and the leadership team here in this company, TDCX, like they really do care about the people that are part of their teams. And so we did everything we could to make sure that we protected as much of the livelihood of our employees as possible. So much so that, and another thing too, before I get into that, is that we have some really good clients that are very aligned with that goal. And so we were able to work with them to find a way to cut costs without sacrificing any of without having to cut employment rates, right? And then what ended up happening is, as we progressed throughout the year, from a company standpoint, we actually started making money, right? Like because of the focus that we had in doing well, doing the right thing for our employees. It really resonated with them, and our performance has never been better. And because the performance was really, really good, it allowed us to really be as competitive as we could be. And so the client saw that, and our team actually doubled in number during the pandemic. If you can imagine that, that's pretty cool.
That is a blessing. That is a major
But
blessing.
yeah, it is absolutely, man. Not just for me personally, but for all the people that were part of my team. I'm very fortunate enough to have had the experience of having to let go someone because we couldn't afford to. And
Mhm.
that's actually a fairly common. So in the Philippines, and I know in the U.S. as well, like there's a lot of stories like that. But in the Philippines, oh man, it's like for a lot of families that are not, middle class or even higher lower class. A lot of families have had to let go of their homes and started living with their parents again, and stuff like that. And then you would see some households with 3 or 4 families, like uncles and aunts living together with their families. And then which is okay if you think about it, but at the same time, that led to an increase in the number of sexual assault cases, like between family members, just
Wow.
because, yeah, like there's a lot of people living in tight spaces, like multiple families. And yeah, it just exacerbated the situation, I guess. So yeah, and then in these families, like they would be living for like 10, 15 people all under one roof. And it's not like there's a lot of space around. Like you would see that per square meter there's about 3 or 4 people living together in one square meter, which is uh, absolutely dense, right? And to think that you're
Definitely, yeah.
trying to create social distancing situations and to have that happen, it was terrible. It was terrible. And so yeah, it's pretty bad everywhere, right? But I think there's some places here in the
Mhm.
Philippines where it was absolutely heartbreaking to see.
Definitely. And just hearing about it is just heartbreaking because I'm a very visual person. I could just imagine because over here in North Carolina, it's kind of fluctuating. I mean, like the case is going up and it's down a week, then it's really up. And my life hasn't been impacted as much. I'm very blessed about it. You know, of course, just being safe and trying to keep my distance, social distancing and everything. But you know, just hearing those families, you know, definitely going to be in my prayers, especially with this whole pandemic everywhere. You know, it's just sad, and some people don't have the immune system to even fight it, where a lot of lives have been lost. So thank you for sharing that though, because I don't think a lot of people really know that, especially around, you know, here. All I see is what, you know, here in, you know, North Carolina or in the US, but to know what it's like out there in the Philippines and other places, like, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, no worries, man. I
All
think
right.
awareness is important.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So, for all my peeps out there that want to follow John, John, what other platforms are you on for your podcast?
Uh, I'm laughing because I haven't really promoted my podcast that much. But I'm on Spotify. I'm on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and I also have a YouTube channel just for that. And then I use Podbean as a distribution and hosting platform. But I couldn't even say what the links were, or what the hashtags were, what the accounts were. But yeah, I mean, the podcast name is Square Zero. I was supposed to use like Breakthrough or Making the Leap or
Mm-hmm.
even Square One. But those are all taken. And so I just kind of had to live with that. And it can make sense in a way, right? Like, because a lot of the topics that I cover is like how to get started. So the way I see it, like everyone starts in Square One, right? But even before you get started, there's Square Zero, which is where some of that really tough uh, situations or the toughest battles happen mentally, where you have to fight yourself so you can get started and all that stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I'll share some of the links and maybe you can just add them in the notes or something.
Yeah, of course. I'll put them into the videos. And you said it's going to be Square Zero. That's the name of your. That's going to be the name of it.
Yeah, that's the name of it. So Square Zero. Yeah.
All right, so all my peeps out there, make sure you guys check out my boy John right here. You know, he's got a friend for life out here. I can't wait till all this pandemic's over. Love to come visit you, man, or vice versa. Whenever, if you come to the United States again, come to North Carolina, come to Fayetteville. Well, Fayetteville's kind of, now I'm just playing. People know if I'm from Fayetteville or I live in Fayetteville, so it's pretty cool. And I'll show you, you know, around, and hopefully maybe we could catch a Hornets game or something.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that, man. And when you get to the Philippines, I'll take you to all the nice spots, and yeah, you can stay at my place.
Awesome. Vice versa, man. Any last words to all my peeps out there before we wrap up?
No, man, I just want to say thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. You know, one thing I want to say about my podcast is that the reason why I started it is that I just really wanted to be able to talk to all these amazing people. So for me, I made it into a podcast just in case anyone else that aligns with the things that inspire me are able to listen to it, and they might appreciate it as well. But for me, honestly, even if no one else listens to those podcasts, I'll be fine with it, just because I learned so much already. And one of those things that I learned is like having conversations like this, like the one you and I are having right now, is something that I find fulfillment in. So I appreciate you really extending this to me, and thank you. It was an honor, man.
Oh, thank you, man. You know, like we met on the podcast group, and I'm glad that, you know, you reached out and we got to do this episode. You're always welcome back. Actually, because I also have two different series that I've been breaking off because I'm more known for my interviews. But I have sessions where we talk about specific topics, where we just stick on that, so it's not more of like an interview where I'm trying to get to like know you or whatever. So if you ever want to come on the show and talk about that. And I also have a new one I just started last week, which is called Don't Hate My Take, which is kind of like a play off some of my favorite sports shows, like First Take or Undisputed and stuff, where they discuss. So it's all about sports, where we could discuss, like your favorite team, my favorite team, and what went wrong this season or what went right. How could we what our input to make the team better and stuff. So anytime, just hit me up, man, and we'll set it up, because I think you'll be awesome, to get your perspective on it.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I'm excited already. Let's make it happen at some point.
Definitely. I'll message you, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. That will conclude episode 11 of the People's Choice Podcast. John, thank you. Also, of course, these are my new t-shirts that I just got created. John, I got to make sure I send you one too, okay?
That's good, man.
All right. You take care, brother.